Craig David, Rendezvous, bringing us to 5 minutes past the hour. This is 94.4 Spice FM. We want to welcome you wherever you are to this amazing show. We are the adults in the room, and we want to welcome you on this amazing Thursday evening. We just want to welcome you wherever you are, even if you're in traffic or you're still in the office, you're hanging out there. You want to just enjoy the show in the quiet of the office because everyone has left, and now you can just enjoy the quiet alone. We want to just welcome you. And if you're in your house and you're like, oh man, I just want to wind down with this amazing show, we just want to welcome you to this amazing show. We are the adults in the room, the home of authentic conversation, and this is 94.4 Spice FM, the home of the most, soul music that is going to take you way, way back to places you thought you forgot. But we got you, we got you. And as usual, I'm in the studio with some amazing people.
Spice FM is the first radio to come alive in a visual format. What that means is, with your phone or PC, you could simply go to www.spicefm.co.ke and be part of the party. You will not only get to hear us loud and clear, but you will watch us live on high definition. A very good evening to you. If you're joining us for the very first time, you've made the right choice. It's delightful to have you on board. We are the adults in the room, Monday through to Friday, every day, 7 to 10 p.m. We take a deep dive in the realms of issues of life, anywhere between relationships, money, sex, and love, issues affecting women and the men who love them. A very warm welcome to you. My name is Eric Omondi. If you're joining us from the great county of Nairobi, Langata area, all the way down to Karengata, Ongata, Rongai, all the way down to Central Business District, Riverside Drive, Hurlingham, a warm welcome to you. The frequency is 94.4.
I am Barbara Mbaka. You can call me the Duchess of Ikolomani. If you are in Kisumu, the western region, the frequency is 102.5. If you're in Mombasa, that is 87.9. If you're in Malindi, that is 97.6. And if you're able to plug into our social media handles, that is Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I shall chime in. I shall actually holler at you. Let me know where you're tuned in from.
And a big shout out to the men who are tuned in today. Every day I have someone who I shout out to. And today I just want to shout out all the men listening to this show, man. Being a man is a responsibility.
I thought I was going to shout out at the men.
No, I beat you to it, girl. You're a bit slow. I beat you to it. A big shout out to all the men who are listening wherever you are in the country. I know this is a pay week. I know many of you are going to the ATM and you're going to peep and see if the money has checked in. Mm-hmm. And if it hasn't, police sana, try tomorrow, But anyway, a big shout out to you, wherever you're listening, to all the men who, tune in, you're running your business, you're driving your taxi, you're just hanging out at home with your family, wherever you are, a big shout out from us to you. Today's a special day. We have some special guests in the building.
Yes, we do.
Right. Yeah, we have very special ladies who are in the building from our voices, from Voice of America, and next to Barbara Mbaka. If you go, Eric, if they go to the website, they can actually see these amazing guests.
Or stream live.
Yeah. They can actually see them.
Not only, if you went to www.spicefm.co.ke, not only are you going to get to see Barbara's exotic and tantalizing hair design.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see a lovely lady in green. She'll tell you her name, and an even lovelier lady in my left.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And for those guys who are not going to tune in on the HD, I'm just going to say it for you. On Barbara's right, there's a very beautiful lady. Her name is Oriane Itangi Shaka.
That's me.
I've rehearsed it.
Yes,
I've rehearsed
it. He's been for the last 5 minutes.
Oriane is one of the hosts of Our Voices and an international multimedia journalist, Central Africa service, all right? And Eric is feeling very, he's fidgeting all the time.
Today he's so happy you should see him.
Eric is behaving.
Live, you will get to see it.
Eric is behaving a little differently because on his left there's a very beautiful lady called Ayen Bior, who is also hi. Yeah, say hi. Say it again.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome, Ayen. Ayen is the host of Our Voices and an international multimedia journalist, VOA South Sudan Project. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
How do you, Oriane?
I have the beautiful studio and just ready to have a fruitful discussion.
Yeah,
I
amazing.
have to say this is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Radio is my first love in journalism, so it's good to be back in a radio studio.
Amazing. We're going to hear more about that as we go along with the show. Oriane, how are you liking Nairobi?
I love it. I love it. The weather is all right. Traffic is a little crazy, but it's
welcome
cool.
to Nairobi.
How about you?
Murderers.
I love Nairobi. This is really my first home, so it's good to be back. I grew up not too far from here in Zimmerman.
Okay, Karibu.
and I have family here, so Nairobi is just a part of me.
All right. Do you understand any Swahili?
I don't. It's a crazy story, but I used to know Swahili. We left when I was a kid, and I forgot all of it. But I'm learning.
All right.
You'll be happy to know that I'm learning. So if you invite me back, maybe I'll be able to give you a few words.
No, by the time you leave here, I think you should leave with a couple of words.
Okay.
You know?
Mtamfunze.
Mfunze.
Mfunze. Ninajua Swahili nilikaa hapa mwaka mmoja.
Yeah. Oriane is
She's
from
close to
Burundi.
me. I'll give
Ariane, Swahili is good.
But I'll let her tell you her story. Meanwhile, I want to know how, Eric, how have you been?
I'm
You know,
good,
since the last
man.
time I saw you, brother.
I'm great. I'm having a good time. It's I think this is the 7th day I was counting prior to coming here of not eating late.
Good for you.
Yes, I've we leave work pretty late, and sometimes I'm quite peckish. So I'd made a habit to go back home and make a big plate of rice, and my trousers started fitting slightly tighter.
It's not into tights.
Yeah, so I've been so I stopped eating after 7 p.m. and I drink a lot of water. Well, the downside is I go to the toilet to take a leak a lot.
You can think
I
you're
think
pregnant.
I'll excuse myself in the next 15.
I
No,
tell
but
you-
I'm keeping well.
I
Really,
tell
I
you
am.
what, Ayen and Oriane, just to give you a backstory, if you go into Eric's Instagram, he was like double his size. You
Is
know,
that right?
how many years back was that?
Good job.
About 4, actually. 4.
Wow.
I was a mountain of a man. I used to have a monstrous appetite.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Well, all men do.
No, mine was particularly
Times
bigger
5.
than most men. So I had a generous belly, and I'd eat so much food. So I changed all that. And so
Congratulations.
I don't ever want to go back there. I think at my biggest I weighed 146 kilos, which I don't know what that is in pounds. I know you guys.
Yeah,
Times
I have to do some
Times
calculations.
one-
Maybe
Times-
280
Yeah.
pounds, I think.
Okay.
Times
Yeah,
1.625.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thereabout.
it's pretty
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah,
size
that's
man.
very heavy. And I was in my 20s. Can you believe that? A
wow.
fat 26-year-old.
Your 20s is when you put on a lot of pounds, though.
Oh,
Well,
I used to
late
be skinny in
20s.
my 20s.
Oh, really?
Now I think my weight is my 30s. I'm just, you know.
Barbara, now that you're
Delicious.
talking, how have you been since the last time I saw you?
I'm good. I'm having a great time. I'm lovely to see you ladies. Something happened to me in the morning. I realized, like, today in the morning, I have a routine with my daughter. So when she woke up in the morning, usually she would come into my room, jump into my bed before we do our prayers. So this time she opened the door because I can sense her, but she just stood there. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, what's wrong with this child? When I actually looked at her and asked her, what is wrong? So she told me, Mom, I'm sorry. I broke your mug. I was trying to do X, Y, Z. Okay, now, the reason why I'm saying about the mug, I'm those African women who have their own special mug for tea. It's a 500 ml. Don't ask me. I'm in love with tea. But I have that. And for her, she told me she looked like she wanted to break into tears. So I looked at her. I told her, just calm. I gave her a hug. I told her, it's okay. Let's say our prayers. I could look at her when I was telling her that. She was in shock. She's like, why isn't this woman upset? Why is she not yelling? Because that had mean, initially, I would be that. I was a few weeks, I think 2 months back. I was that kind of parent, something like that. I would yell or just show my authority. But I was reading something online by a lady called Gladys Wekesa a couple of weeks back, and she was saying we need to change the cycle of how we discipline our children. Majority of us come from a generation where our parents used to use abusive language or yell at us. Either they could deny you food or pinch you, or like. The disciplinary levels were just extreme. And for us, we actually glorify or make amusement and humor out of that and say, if it was not for that, I wouldn't be who I am today. As much as that happened, I feel our parents during their time did not know what was good or what was right. And how they treated us then should not be the same way we treat our kids. We need to look for proper ways to discipline our children, but let it not be abusive. I don't know what you think about it.
Oriane, do you have kids?
I mean, I have 3 boys,
Yes.
and I understand exactly what you're saying because, we're in a different generation where we're starting to realize that giving more love will cause your children to get closer to you, to listen to you, to respect you, I
Yes.
think. And so I feel exactly what you're feeling. I'm leaning towards being a little bit more softer,
Yeah.
but still, show my authorities
And-
in many different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
How
And
about you?
Well, I can just imagine that you reinforced a very important lesson, and that's that it's important to take responsibility for the mistakes that you have made. So the next time your daughter does something wrong, she won't try to hide it.
Yeah.
She will admit to it, and she will take responsibility. And so I think that alone in itself is really important.
Yeah.
Eric, I'm curious about what you're going to chime in about this because you were raised with a whip, right?
No, I just finished reading Sons of Solomon, Toni Morrison, and I became curious to see some of our work. Do you have a moment, or should I tell you when you're back?
Wait, tell us when we're back.
Alrighty.
This is 94.4 Spice FM, and we are the adults in the room. I'm in the studio with Eric Omondi and Barbara Mbaka, the Duchess of Ikolomani.
A very good evening to you if you're listening from the great county of Mombasa, which I love. The frequency is 87.9.
And if you're able to plug into our social media handles, that is Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Tune in.
And we have special guests in the building today. We have Ian Bior and Oriane Itangishaka.
Hello.
By the time you're gonna leave here, it's just gonna be rolling out of my lips. Itangishaka. But I'm not doing bad.
What does Itangishaka mean?
It means God gives whenever He wills.
Oh, that's a beautiful name.
amazing.
Whenever He
name.
feels like He will bless.
Eric, you can use that on one of your.
Yeah, one of my future children.
Yes.
Unborn it.
Check it,
Itangishaka. I want 2 packets of milk in Itangishaka. Itangishaka and come with bananas. Itangishaka Baba.
Daddy now.
Is it a female name or a male
It's
name?
anybody. It's actually my husband's name.
All right.
I had a much longer name and I couldn't wait to get a little bit shorter, which is still a little longer.
Barbara, you see, Burundi ladies are taking their husbands' names.
What are
How
you-
she's hyphenating names.
No. It's my choice. I love my
My
mother's
mother
name.
didn't.
Yeah.
So different women.
As
different
Eric
flows.
said, my boyfriend or future husband did not go to med school, so let's keep the names.
Eric, before we enter the break, there was something you were about to share.
Yes, I just wanted to opine on what Barbara had said. She was talking about how she's become more lenient and withdrawn about the need to beat up children every time they do something small.
Yes.
And I was saying I've just finished Toni Morrison's The Sons of Solomon, and I became curious to see some of our works online. And she said something profound. She said every time our kids, when they were younger, would come into the room, she'd look at them to check if they were properly dressed and, their shirts were okay, if they were dusty. And she had this very quizzical look. And then she quickly realized that how they were looking at her was not from a place of her being loving, but from a place of policing their moves.
Yes.
So she changed that approach very quickly to a loving approach, to like, oh, come here, maybe you could, tweak your shirt a little bit better.
Yeah.
You are handsome, you're a decent
That's it,
boy.
yeah.
So she'd use words of reaffirmation
Yeah.
and empowerment. So that goes a long way. So kudos to you. Keep doing that.
Thank you, darling.
Barbara is learning from the best.
Of course.
Yeah.
Every day I learn something new.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I'm going to share with you guys a story, and it's nice there are more ladies in the building so that I can get more perspective from the ladies' angle. I have this relative, who separated with his wife, all right? And the reason is he messed up. He messed up, you know what I mean? And
No, we don't know what you mean.
she knows.
Get down and
Tangishaka
dirty.
knows. She's
He
nodding.
probably cheated.
Yeah, these guys are a bit slow.
The worst crime.
So anyway, what happened was the lady moved out. Eventually, she got tired and she moved out. And this guy, like right now, I know him because I'm very close to him. He's very remorseful. He's remorseful about what happened, and he's been trying to tell
Genuinely
this.
remorseful?
It looks it's genuine.
Emmanuel thinks he
good.
is.
It's genuine.
Okay.
I tell you what, he's even checked himself. He checked both of them into some counseling thing, but she's still mad. She's like, but he went on to go for the counseling alone. He's been trying to reach out to her all the time, and the emotion I'm feeling is weird because I'm mad now at this lady. Because I'm like, why can't you accept this guy's, forgiveness? Like, this guy is asking, he's begging, he's begging. He's hired a Mexican band to go sing outside her window, he's gone full throttle. But she's still like, no, and I don't think so. So I'm like, why don't you think so? Why can't you just forgive the guy? And where I'm coming from is my mom, because I grew up in this polygamous family. My mom went through, terrible times with my dad. I remember there was a time he had disappeared for a couple of months and he was somewhere stuck on Jogo Road, and Jogo Road is one of the roads, and Jogo Road. So he was stuck there, and he called my mom after 3 months. Can you imagine? The next time she had from him is that phone call. Then she's like, "Hey, I'm stuck. My car's run out of fuel. Could you come bail me out?"
Your mother is a very loving woman.
And she actually went and bailed him out from that situation. She went to bail him out, and after that, he changed. We said seeing him all the time. So meaning if she didn't go to bail him out on that day, maybe I wouldn't have had a dad, like a dad I see every day. So my question to you, ladies, and also to you, Eric, is: do you think, no matter what has been done to you, do you think that you should leave space to forgive? Like, Barbara, would you forgive? Even if someone does a horrible thing to you, and I know people have done horrible things to you
Yes.
from the stories you've told.
Yes.
Would you, if someone is genuinely remorseful, would you forgive?
I'm going to use the term forgiving is not forgetting. I'll start by that. I would forgive you because I want to do it for myself.
And by forgiving means, would you take him back?
No. Plus, no, there are things I can't take you back from. That kind of, there are things I will take you back for, and the things that are not, I won't take you back for. I do not know the context, the exact context of why your relative and the spouse are separated. Of course, you said he.
No, just the normal cheating and.
You see how you're saying it so casually. The
Yeah.
normal.
No, I'm not saying it
Cheating is
casually. I'm
ultimate
just.
No,
betrayal.
cheating fast should not be normal. Let's not normalize that.
No, I'm saying the normal things that make people separate.
Yes.
I'm not saying cheating
yes,
is normal. I'm
yes.
saying the normal
okay.
things that make
people,
yes.
So it depends on the level. We're all different people. For example, I could forgive, and maybe Ariane cannot forgive someone. So you need to come.
No, Ariane hasn't said that. You're
No, I'm
one
just
thing.
giving it. Okay, by for example, Agnes will not forgive,
Yes.
and I might forgive. So we are all different. It depends on how hard she is. Another thing he's doing that is wrong. He's trying to take her for counseling, and he's not actually found out why this woman is hurting or why this woman is resenting him. He should make an effort of actually reaching out to the lady first.
No, he has reached out, but she's refused
Then
to.
she's moved on.
What do you think, Ariane?
I think that it's really tricky because, of course, as a Christian, the Bible says to forgive, but that's if you're in a Christian environment where you're going to get Christian counseling and eventually, you're kind of delivered from whatever you're dealing with that caused you to cheat and so forth. But I think women has the right to feel like, you know what, this kind of man that I'm dealing with has this seed in him that just he doesn't want to let it go, which means I cannot stay here for the next 10 years trying to hope that he will let it go. It's so deep in him. Maybe she has put up with it for so long before you guys even figured it out that it was happening, that she decided that, you know what, he said sorry before and I got hurt again. And so that situation where you realize that I'm dealing with something that's not going to change.
It's toxic.
But the other part is that there's no sin that cannot be forgiven. I think that from what I'm hearing, she should consider, not just say yes, but consider, and then maybe listen and maybe sit down and go through the talking with him and his family or whatnot, and then come to a concrete conclusion that yes, I'm never going to come back, or let me consider it. But I think that she just shut the door, that she's not even considering it, which is not, I think, not good.
I am, because there are kids involved.
Exactly,
I didn't
and
say that earlier.
that's exactly what I was about to say. I think that there's some cheating that rises to the level of trauma, and when you have kids who are involved, it's not just
About you.
It's not that just that he cheated against her, but also against the children who are involved, right? And I have to say, like the both of you said, it's individual. It's different from one person to another. But what I would not do is blame the woman for not wanting to take him back. She has her own reasons. She has her own trauma. She has her emotions that she's going through. And I think that this man needs to give her space to do that. I understand that he wants her back. Well, guess what? She's not ready for that. And he needs to accept that she may never be ready for that, because he broke a trust that is so strong that it created a family. That trust has gone now. And it's like, how do you recover from that? I mean, for me, I just think it's an emotional and mental trauma that it can take even years, maybe even decades to get over.
Maybe not even. It will never happen.
Maybe not even. Yeah, exactly. But like I said before, cheating is the ultimate betrayal. It is the ultimate betrayal, and I don't blame this young woman for acting the way that she's acting, because I think she has a right to, if I'm being honest.
Eric, you know where our parents came from, man. I've told you the story of my mom, how the way she went through that trauma, and as she said, and she just, she did it more or less for us. But now when they grew older, they became really close. They became best of friends. When my dad, passed on, she was there. She was really, truly hurt. So maybe, what do you think? Maybe there's there's room for.
Are you hanging on the relationship that your parents had, assuming that this other relative is going to be like that? Because I think you're doing a lot of comparison, and people are different.
I don't know.
Relationships are different.
I don't know. Eric, what do you think, brother?
Human ways are various, all right? So that how I handle A would be very different how the next person handles A. So I just want to say and agree in part that, as she said, trust is built over time, but it takes a second or just one miniature thing that can break the entire trust you built for over a period of time. I think also the person you're talking about shouldn't justify any wrong, so that he's in a place for thinking he deserves to be forgiven, all right? Because he's been on the wrong. So he does not deserve a particular way to be forgiven. So that he needs to deal with what he's been dealt, all right? Because he subjected anguish to this other person. So how this other person behaves shouldn't be under his view of to correct or to expect if it's not suitable for what he deserves, all right? I think you must live with the consequences of your action, whatever the actions are, all right? So that because you've broken somebody's trust, if they decide then to leave you and never speak to you for the rest of their lives, you should be ready to do that. So I think the question comes about when you're about to do something that might break the trust, you want to employ some of these thoughts in your mind.
But how about this angle I'm bringing up about, like my mom? You guys are not talking about that.
I said human
That's what you're
ways.
saying.
I
You're
said
insisting
human
on that.
ways are
Like, you're
various.
the
What do you
parent.
think, Orion?
I think that quickly. I think that maybe you think that she's doing it to make him suffer. Do you think that she's doing it to make him suffer and still loves him? Because women can do that. Like I say, I'm going to make you suffer. I know you love me and you're going to stay there.
I ain't taking
and she
you
can
back.
do that for a little while. And then when she feels like he's not going to stay there long, and then she comes back. But what do you think? Is she just angry or she's just really done?
I think it's a issue of trust, just the way you've said
Yeah.
it. Her trust was broken. She still feels, and we do not know how many times this man apologized or this man repeated this act.
Yeah, and just with your mom and dad,
Yeah.
your dad decided to change. Your mom didn't change your dad.
Yes.
Your mom decided to believe your dad when he said that I've changed. That's your mom's decision.
Yeah.
Not every woman is going to make that same decision. But remember, this young
But do you
man
think that's the reason old relationships would last longer? Maybe
if what?
back in the day.
If what?
They didn't have choices.
You think it's a choice
They
story?
didn't have choices.
I
Like-
think they were
like
more
our
forgiving.
parents.
I agree.
Yeah, they
I
were
think
more
they were
forgiving and they didn't
Yeah.
have choices.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have more choices.
And I think that you're right. You're pointing out is very important because a lot of divorces are happening because people are not patient anymore. They're not forgiving anymore.
Yes.
So you're completely right.
94.4 Spice FM. We're hanging out with Barbara Mbaka and Eric Omondi, one of the biggest conversationalists here in this country. We're also hanging out with Ayan Bior and Oriane Itangi Shaka, and we're gonna be back after this very short message.
Itange Shaka.
Telling you, this is the home of soul music, man. I don't think there's anywhere else you're gonna hear that song. Zapp and Rogers, I Wanna Be Your Man. I've not had that for a while, and I'm gonna hear it more and more as I interact with this amazing station, 94.4 Spice FM, the home of soul music and authentic conversation. I'm in the studio with Eric Omondi Odwor and Barbara Mbaka. We're having a good time right here in the studio.
That is absolutely right. A very good evening to you. If you're joining us, you've made the right choice. A warm welcome to you every day, Monday to Friday, 7 to 10 p.m. The Dance in the room, bringing all the dial conversations. A very warm welcome to you if you're joining us from the great county of Malindi. 97.7 is the frequency, and my name is Eric Omondi.
And then I am the Duchess of Ikolomani, plugging in today's conversation through our social media handles. That is Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
We're going to be sharing a hot topic before we get to the top of the hour, and we have some special guests today in the building. Ayan Bior and Oriane Itangi Shaka from The Voice of America. They host an amazing show which they're going to share about, I think, between now and the top of the hour. And Oriane, we just want to get into it.
Sure.
Tell us more about this amazing show, Our Voices.
Well, once again, thank you so much for having my colleague and I here at Spice FM. We feel very warm. But Our Voices is pretty much, in short, a 30-minute Pan-African panel of women, African women, who basically just determined to elevate the issues that matter for the continent. Any issues that matter, it could be politics, economy, motherhood, any issue that really matters for the continent.
So it's not about women, is it?
It's not just about women.
Not just about women. And maybe my colleague can also add on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to share more?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Our Voices were a group of journalists, female journalists, who have dedicated our careers to finding stories that are hidden, speaking to marginalized, women, men, anyone who is traditionally ignored by the media. We try to find them. We try to figure out, what they think about these serious issues. Men are absolutely invited to the table. In fact, we understand that we will not make any progress unless men are at the table. And so we've made some efforts, in the year or so that we've been taping the show to make sure that men are included. And I think that we live in a time where women are becoming increasingly emboldened, and they are unafraid to question authority. You look at Stella Nyanzi in Uganda, Diane Rwigara in Rwanda. I mean, these are women who dare to speak up. and created tension within their societies, and created this ripple effect where people started asking questions about the role of women in societies, about whether or not a woman can run for president. Is it okay to make controversial statements about the president? So all of these issues, I think our voices, we don't shy away from these issues. What we try to do instead is create a platform to have objective and honest conversations about these very serious issues that are going on.
How long has the show run?
The show is a 30-minute program, a weekly program.
For how long has it
how
run?
long?
How long has it run
A year,
from
6
from
months?
from the time it began?
November last year, November 30th last year was when our pilot episode aired.
Oh, that's
All
amazing.
So
right.
almost a year.
Oh, that's amazing. I just wanted to ask Ayen, what has been your best show so far and why?
Oh, there's been so many good ones. But, you know, I really think that my favorite show has been the show about skin bleaching, because it's an issue that encompasses not just Africa, by the way, but, you know, in Asia, there's a huge skin bleaching problem.
Oh, in Asia?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Korea especially, there's skin bleaching creams that you can just get, you know, off the counter. I have friends from South Korea who tell me that they use it daily. But I also have friends here around, you know, in the continent who use skin bleaching products. And so in that show, it was my favorite show because me as a dark-skinned woman, I have been pressured to bleach. My friends who are darker than me have been pressured to bleach. And so we wanted to have a very honest conversation about what leads women to bleach, and some men, what leads us to bleach. What is it in our society that makes us buy creams to lighten our skin? But we also wanted to talk about the clinical aspect of it. What happens to your skin when after bleaching, exactly. When you are slowly destroying the melanin in your body, how does that affect you? What are the long-term effects, and can it be reversed if you change your mind later? I thought that was a very important conversation because it impacts so many women and men. But I think we were all in agreement, first and foremost, to not blame the women who bleach.
Yes.
And we also realized in the conversation that a lot of times women bleach because there's a demand to bleach. Because a lot of women want to get married and they realize that men like lighter skinned women.
Or that they assume.
Exactly. So is it their fault or is it society's fault who says that lighter skinned women are more beautiful? So some of those questions we tackled, and we had a woman on set. We had two women on set actually who bleached, and they told us why they bleach. Of course, they both stopped. They told us why they stopped. So we have women who are just bold, unapologetic, and are not afraid to talk about these issues that otherwise we have traditionally been afraid to.
I watched a bit of the episode, and I heard you say, I think on the show, that in Rwanda they actually banned bleaching creams in
Yes,
Rwanda.
they did.
It's
Right,
funny
right.
you say
They
that.
did.
I just was going to
Countries are
say
coming
that.
along
Yes,
on that.
exactly.
I
They did.
read, I think on The Economist, that Kagame completely banned
Yeah.
all bleaching creams.
So how's that
They
going?
did, but there's a black market for skin bleaching
That's right.
creams, and there's
Alright.
still a demand
Everywhere.
for it. So women still find ways to get it.
Even in Kenya,
Just like
there's a
a
black
drug,
market
because
for
it's-
it.
you get-
Because some of those products were actually banned in Kenya many years ago. The Ambis, the what. But we have a black market for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
The
Ariane-
demand is so strong.
Ariane, there's something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this was a very important show because, again, we go back into the deep issue of why they're doing that. It's kind of like FGM. Some people realize that this is a societal pressure that women have to undergo. So when you really dig deep into some of these topics, you realize the underlying issues of society. And if we women don't bring them up, which man is going to bring it up? So, you know, a show like Our Voice is really, we sit down and we really dissect these kind of issues.
I also wanted to ask you, what was the most controversial topic or show you had since November last year?
Controversial? I'm not sure, but amongst us as a panel,
Yes.
I think I remember.
On you, what show did you feel?
I think
as
that
Ariane was
a
controversial.
show called The Protest.
Yes.
We were discussing regime change, the art of protest. Where does the money come from?
Yes.
Who organizes this protest? Is it
Yes.
the people? Is it the international community? Is it, this is one of the
Politicians,
shows that
yeah.
people don't expect women to be sitting around talking about.
Yeah,
But
Yes.
we
yeah.
dive
I've
deep into
actually looked up like, what?
exactly.
about
what? Emmanuel loves
I
protest.
loved it because I my beat on the show is politics, and I love politics, and I wanted to dig deep and to see exactly, where, the channeling the money. A lot of these protests on a continent, why? Why do we have the Arab Spring? Why do we have the East Africa Spring? Why do we have these springs? Why do we have the Asian Spring, the South American Spring? How come the people, quote unquote, are rising? Who's organizing it? Who's funding it? Things like that.
What are the findings you got? Like, you know?
Well, some places where there's a lot of money that are channeled into society, like in NGOs that come from overseas. But sometimes you have some serious issues that are Africans on the continent that are going through, that are rising up and saying enough is enough. Like, in the political realm, in the economic realm, we know we have a young continent. So a lot of young people are frustrated and they're rising up and they're saying, look, something has to change.
So it's true that in some areas, some of these protests are funded.
Oh, yeah, for sure, because you have big organizations that are believing in certain cause, whether it be abortion, whether it be homosexuality, whether it be any kind of issues that, quote unquote, is promoted in some places on the continent aren't receptive of them, but you find that those areas have a lot of money and, things like that. So there's a lot of things you uncover once you start to dig deep in some of these issues.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. That's amazing. The show it has a very wide scope, because initially I thought it was just,
women. We talk about fashion.
No.
Women on the continent, we have a big continent, and women are the majority.
Yes.
About 51% estimated by the
That's
World
a
Bank.
huge number. Seeing
Just
that
a percent.
Africa has
So
a billion point something.
Right.
1.2.
Yeah.
1.2
So
billion.
women have, some of them like fashion, some of them like politics, some of them
Absolutely.
like, so, I just giving them a platform to speak.
All right.
And I tell you what, after the break, I want to know what impact the show has had, and I also want to know, what men think of this show.
Or
Also,
is
when
there a
we
place
come
for
back,
men?
I will ask about whether or not skin bleaching is reversible from your finding. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM. It's 47 minutes past the hour. We're having an amazing time right here in the studio. We are the adults in the room.
That is absolutely right. A very good evening to you. If you're joining us from the great county of Nyeri, Othaya, Tetu, all the way in Mwege Town and Karatina, the frequency is 90.9.
And I am Barbara Mbaka. You can call me the Duchess of Ikolomani. Our social media handles are Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Comment. Let me know where you're tuning from, and I shall give you a shout out. I'd like to give a shout out to Karen, Molly, and Levi. Thank you for tuning in.
And we have special guests in the building from the Voice of America, the host of Our Voices, Ayan Bior and Oriane Itangishaka. You see, now I'm even saying it without the paper.
You have been cramming.
Eric, before we went to the break, you had a question for them.
Yes, I had a question for Ayan Bior. She made a compelling a bit of a story she did about skin bleaching, and I was interested to find out whether or not it's reversible.
Do you want to try?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, the good news is the consequences of skin bleaching can be reversible, but it really depends on the extent of the use of skin bleaching products. Because what happens when you put on bleach, when you put bleach on your skin, you're eliminating the melanin in your skin, which is a protective layer. And so under a doctor's care, there are cases where women have gained 100% health, but it really is case by case. And it really depends on how much skin bleaching products you've used.
All right, fair enough.
So the faster you stop, the better it will be for you.
That's right.
Eric, please stop.
Oriane, what are men saying about this show? Are they receiving it, with open hearts?
Surprisingly, they are, because sometimes you think, oh, this women's show, men are just going to bash it. No, they actually were very receptive. Like, oh, we are curious to hear what you have to say. When you look at our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they're like actually the majority of those commenting, and their comments are not negative. They're just chiming in. They're giving their opinion. And as I said on a show before in Kampala, I said, when we are crying out to get our voices heard at the table, we don't knock men off the table. We sit in dialogue and just make sure our voices are valued and heard.
We belong together.
And
Yes, we
Ayan,
do.
are the voices the feedback from these men? Is it from the continent or from the diaspora?
It's from everywhere, from both the diaspora and the continent. I can't tell you how many times a man has sent me a message and say, my daughter watches Our Voices. I ask her to watch Our Voices because there are role models within the show, and I want her to look at the four of you and aspire to become something great. That happens a lot, and it's typically men who talk about their daughters or their sisters or their mothers being inspired through the show.
Have you thought of bringing a man on the show?
Oh yes, we've had
Because
men
the-
on the show.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, our very first show was called He for She, and we had two men, two of my brothers, my VOA brothers, talk about feminism and whether or not they see themselves as feminists. We had one man who did not see himself as a feminist, and another man who saw himself as a feminist. Both of them were fathers to daughters. They had no sons; they were raising daughters. So it was fascinating to see these two opposing views talk about feminism. You
Right.
know?
I tell you what, I think I got a glimpse of that show, and there was a guy in a suit.
Yes.
And there was
Yes,
another guy
that's
in
the
a hat.
glimpse you
Yes.
Which one was the feminist?
The bald head.
The guy with the suit?
No,
Great
it's-
guy.
The guy with the hat was the feminist.
Oh.
That's Jackson. He's one of our very good friends, our colleague. And then Roger Muntu, who I refer to as my big protective brother, was the one. He's not an anti-feminist, so I want to be very careful not to call him that.
Yeah.
But he just did not call himself
The
a
word.
feminist.
He was
No.
not
He does
comfortable
not
with the word.
subscribe to
No, I was
that.
just wondering.
Exactly.
I was just wondering if dress code has an effect on you.
What are you trying to
just
say?
have
Is anyone here a
different
feminist? I would like to know.
No. I'm. I was just thinking, man. Eric, what is a hot topic, my brother?
All right, today we have a fantastic hot topic, and I cannot wait to hear what the ladies have to say. We are speaking about signs you might be more invested in your relationship than your partner. Yep.
It
yep,
hurts.
I would love
It
to know your opinion,
hurts.
ladies.
You know, like, it really hurts when you know you're investing more than the other guy.
Yeah.
When you kind of getting the point that he's just not that much
Into you?
Yeah, like if
course,
he's
the
not
obvious-
texting back, if you're the one always
2 days
initiating a
later.
text
2
conversation,
days is long.
Yeah, no, 2 days is way
long.
too long.
I know, but I'm
Yeah.
saying like some women don't see that as long,
As
but
problematic.
You need to
Yeah.
get the point that
What
he's-
would be your signs?
So if I'm the one initiating conversation, always setting up dates, always going out of my way to see him, then I know that he's not into me. Because I feel like I still believe that men should pursue women. And if he's
I
not
agree.
pursuing me, if he's not calling me, texting me, saying good morning, I mean, in my view,
Eric, do you hear?
My-
Say good morning.
right.
But that always feels so routinely, though. Yo.
Well,
No,
let me tell
it's
you,
not routine.
That
If
means
you're not into- yeah,
you're
I
not
guess.
into her, because a man who really likes you, and sorry to interrupt you, Ayan, a man who's just not into you, he's just not into you. And there are
Right.
big sign, red flags. And I
It's
think
a red banner.
Right.
Yeah, and
So-
a lot of times, go ahead.
No,
Ayan,
no, go
finish
ahead.
up. Yeah,
Ladies, choose. Anyone can talk.
Go ahead, Ayan.
No, I was just going to say, within my group of girlfriends, they always say that if a man doesn't pay for the date, then that means that he's not into you. I don't know about that. I haven't really thought about that, but
That's interesting.
Technically, that's according to the young women that I hang out with. That's a potential sign. I actually don't fully agree with that. I don't think that if a man doesn't pay for
Which
you,
date?
Right.
The first
The
date
first
or
date.
the
The
19th
first-
date?
I think I'm
First
agreeing.
date.
First
The-
date.
I'm actually
First
agreeing with them
date.
because he pursued you. He looked for you.
Right.
So why are you
Well,
paying for the date?
unless you
Right.
pursued him.
And the
Yes,
other
yeah.
thing-
If you pursued him, then pay for the date.
Right, I agree. The other big sign is if he doesn't want to introduce you to his friends or his family.
that's a big one.
red flag.
That's a big one, especially his friends.
Maybe
That's a
his
big
family
one.
and friends died in a big plane.
Is that what? Is that the excuse
You are just not into
Eric,
her.
is that the excuse you have been giving out here?
I tell you what, man.
Yes. You know.
I'm feeling like we're running out of the hot topic already. Man. What am I gonna say when the hot topic comes about, man? But I tell you what, when can we catch the show? Like people are listening in to you guys.
KTN News, 1:30 every Sunday.
Oh,
There's
every
a
Sunday.
repeat at 10:30 p.m.
Oh, so every Sunday.
That's
Just say
right.
that slowly. There are people like me out there.
Every Sunday on KTN News, 1:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can catch a repeat at 10:30 p.m. on KTN News.
All right.
How long are you guys here for?
Unfortunately, just a few more days.
Yeah, just a few more days.
It never
we're
feels
here.
long enough when we're in
I know.
Nairobi.
You know, this is my first time after 23 years.
Whoa.
Yes.
And
I
for
was-
you?
I was this year like last year.
Ayan,
And
just,
so 1 week is very short.
Ayan,
We're leaving soon.
I'd like guys to hear your story. Tell us about Zimmerman. And,
Oh, yeah.
Just very, very lively.
What do you
'cause I
remember
know
about
you didn't.
it?
Oh my goodness. So Zimmerman, I don't know if a lot of people know, but there's a lot of we used to be called Sudanese, now we're called South Sudanese, but it's like basically little South Sudan. So there's a ton of South Sudanese in there. I have to be completely honest with you. When I was in Zimmerman, I remember having the best childhood. Like my mom never worried about us. I would leave our apartment at like 7:00 in the morning on the weekend, play all day until the sun went down. I would eat at one of my friend's house. My friend's mom would feed us. It was just beautiful. And then as soon as we moved to the U.S., my parents got very protective. They didn't let us go outside. We couldn't play. And it made me think, what's the difference between Africa and the U.S.? And so when I think back of my childhood, when I think of Africa, I think of Nairobi. I think of Zimmerman, and I think of how free I felt, how great I felt.
This is really home, Ayan.
This is really home for me.
Welcome back.
I feel the same way
Thank
because
you.
when I came in 23 years ago, it was the war was breaking out in Burundi,
Yes.
and I felt home when I came. Even though it was a little bit of a rough territory because you guys are sharp.
They're very fast.
There's a matatu coming, and Burundi is a small country, small
Right.
city.
You're too polite.
But I was living in Nyeri Estate, taking a bus to Ngongo Road, going to the little
Ngong
refugee
Road.
school back there where we have Burundian and Rwandan refugees. Had a small school. I need to go back and see if it's still there. But it was a place where I came and transitioned before I went to the U.S. and I liked the modernity that Nairobi had. I can't remember anything. I mean, I remember Uhuru Park,
Yes, it's still
but
there.
everything else is brand new. It's a totally different country.
So what's it like being, successful, media, personalities in America as black, black successful?
As
Because,
black
I was telling you guys earlier about how, we just fed by the news. What CNN says is what we think is happening in America, but especially about the black people and the people in the diaspora.
To be honest with you, I'm really appreciating and I'm thankful to God of where I am, where I came from Burundi, and I'm here in the U.S. and I'm impacting on young women, even men on a global level. It's a very humbling position. But I think that if anyone works hard and believe in their dream, whether you're in the U.S., whether you're in Burundi, Nairobi, make the best of where you are and work very hard. And so, I'm just humbled. Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, it's such a privilege, because we, right now, we just live in a time where I feel like African women and black women are always being portrayed as victims of something. We're victims of conflict, victims of the patriarchy, victims
Rape.
of, just anything. Yeah, exactly. And, there are really serious issues. Patriarchy is a very serious issue that we have to talk about. But I think that we are in a position where we can kind of reframe our narrative and kind of tell our own stories as they are and not as the West thinks that they are. And that's, I think, very important for both me and Ariane.
That's true. That's why we are called a Pan-African panel.
Yeah.
We are African women. We might be in D.C., but we were born on the continent. We come on the continent very often. We are journalists, so we understand the continent. We can bring that perspective to the
Yeah,
table.
go.
Oriane, quick question.
Yes.
Has it been 23 years since you've been back to Africa? Or just
No. I
Nairobi?
come to Africa a lot. I come to Burundi.
Oh, you go back home.
Okay.
But Nairobi,
That's
okay.
good.
I
That's
left
good.
in 96, and I hadn't been back in Nairobi.
That's good. That is
But-
quite a sign of relief for me. 23 years is a long
It's a long
But
time.
I've been
Yeah.
very close to the country because I still report on the East African community issues. So I know very well. I would say very well, but I know pretty
You're
much,
conversant.
the East African community issues. I understand them because I've been covering them for 15 years.
Oh, fantastic.
But it's tough being a long, long way from home. And I don't know about you, Eric, because you're very well traveled. Would you stay? What's your experience? Do you really miss home when you go? Would you do the 23-year stint?
I did. I lived in LA for a bit, but I used to be homesick. But I'd speak to my mom often in Deep Luo, which is my dialect. But,
He's a mommy's boy sometimes.
and no, I don't
did
know
you
if I
come
would
back?
do 23 years. I've been back, when did I come back from the States? 2012. Yes.
How long had you been living in the U.S.?
All put together 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, when you're
so-
with your
Not too
family,
long.
mom, dad, and your brothers,
Yeah.
23
Different.
years is different. When
Oh,
you're
your
by
whole-
yourself,
your whole family-
My whole family is in
Okay.
the U.S.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
then that's
easier.
better, yeah.
I was
So-
alone. I was a lone ranger, and all my relatives would call and ask for the dollars.
That's
yeah.
right. Hey, you are making the dollars, so send the dollars.
So you need
tell
to
you
send
what,
the dollars.
we're almost at the top of the. What are your parting shots?
Our parting shot?
What would you like to say?
Oh, we
you know,
would like
the-
to say, watch our voices. It's transformational, it's
Yes.
impactful, and it's inspiring.
Okay.
And you can also catch it online, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And our handle is at VOA Our Voices on all the platforms.
All right. How about you?
Our Voices is bold and it's unapologetic. So everyone should listen to us if they want to hear four women take on these serious issues.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
Good
amazing.
to
It
have
was a
you
pleasure
guys.
meeting you both.
Thank you so much. I had fun. I had a lot of
you.
fun.
We had
Thank
a
you.
We'll be
of
back.
fun.
We'll try to.
Yes,
try to
welcome
welcome
back.
Yeah,
And we should do that nyama choma you wanted.
Nick, let me tell you, I've been here for 5 days. Sijakula nyama choma.
Aki,
I'm
I
very
should see you
upset.
after the show.
The only thing I remember about Nairobi was the choma, mbuzi choma. Lakini sijakula.
I should talk to our
Do
producer to
something.
hook you up.
Do something.
I have to take your numbers before you leave. I'll be one of those people.
I
when
know
you visit-
Emmanuel really wanted to take your
when-
number for someone else,
when
but
you visit America,
Ranger.
when you visit America, you start calling them. Okay, hello. No, I was with you.
Ayen, I am here in DC. I am in front of the district capital. Come pick me at Trump's office.
Catch the cab, catch taxi. That's funny.